website, the Biblical Worldview Academy.org. And I'd like to tell you a little bit more about this organization. It's really just a small group of individuals, and it all started December 2007. I'm a teacher by trade, and I had 2 weeks off at December, and I was just wasting time. And I was also reading the book of Acts, and I just got in my heart, I just knew I wanted to do something more. And I look at the book of Acts and I see the disciples, instead of just wasting time, they're out sharing their faith. They're talking to people about Jesus. And I noticed that Paul, he had disciples, and all this excitement was going on. And I thought about my own life, and at the time I was 55, and I'm thinking, what have I done? I've done a lot of presentations, I've done a lot of good things, but have I really taken a group of people like Paul did and invested in them? And so that's what I decided to do. And over the years, I've worked with college groups, and I knew a lot of talented 30-year-olds. And so I contacted them through email and invited them to a meeting in April of 2008. And at that meeting, I unveiled what I would call a unique discipleship group, what I would call a purpose-driven, process-driven, and product-driven discipleship group. You see, I was familiar with Rick Warren's purpose-driven small groups, and I wanted to do one that took it to another level. The purpose of our group would be to honor Jesus Christ. The process, well, we would learn how to become better teachers, how to become better presenters of material, how to prepare materials, how to present it, how to make PowerPoints, and this sort of thing. And then we would be product-driven. We would develop a product that would be delivered to 2 different churches here in Escondido, 2 connected churches, both Emmanuel Faith in Escondido and Mission Hills. And so 5 individuals took up this challenge. The individuals are Todd, Brady, Dylan, Nate, and Alex. And we began what I, again, affectionately call the Biblical Worldview Academy. And the product was going to be a teaching based on some materials developed by Greg Kokel of Stand to Reason called the Bible Fast Forward. I had listened to and studied the notes on these materials and thought they were fantastic. There was lots of good information, but it only needed some tweaking. It needed some changing. And so I thought, gosh, if we could develop this into teaching materials, we could impact many, many lives. And so I contacted Stand to Reason, got their permission to go to work on this, and that's what we did. We set it out in September of 2008. During the fall, we began to edit these materials, and it took weekdays, it took weekends, it was hard work, but we eventually reached February 2009, and we taught it for the first time. And by now, it had a new name. We called it God's Unfolding Plan. And what it really is a thematic walk through the Bible, historical walk through the Bible, from Genesis all the way to Revelations. What are the major events, historical events? How has God been working from Adam all the way through Jesus, all the way to the end times? And so it took us 11 weeks to teach this. And at the time, it was very, very difficult because not only were we preparing to presenting the materials, we were also editing and developing materials and developing PowerPoints. And it all pushed us to the end. But we didn't lose heart. We taught about 75 adults. When we finished, we knew we were onto something. And so, again, I stayed in contact with Stand to Reason, and they continued to encourage us. And eventually, Greg came to my house to meet with us at dinner. And when he met the whole team and found out exactly what we were doing, he became extremely excited about redoing his own materials. And he slated this in the near future that he was going to work on his materials, the Bible Fast Forward, but he was going to integrate what we had done to go along with his materials. So based on Greg's encouragement, we started in the fall of 2009 again to meet. We met weekly. We sometimes met on Saturdays from 8 to noon. And we were now developing what I would consider the 3.0 version. Greg having the 1.0 version, the Bible Fast Forward, the foundation document for everything we were doing. The 2.0 version was what we presented the second time. And now we're going to do the 3.0 version, and that's what we were editing. And again, we worked hard, developed new PowerPoints, shrunk it from 11 sessions down to 9. That was with Greg's encouragement. again, we had about 75 adults at 2 different churches, bringing the total to 150 adults who had taken the class. And after 9 weeks, we felt like, again, it was a success. We knew we needed more editing. That was going to come shortly. In fact, just a couple weeks ago, we met and discussed where our new direction is going to be, because we're going to teach the 4.0 version in the near future. And then just yesterday, I met with Greg Kokel and Melinda Penner, told them where we're at, what we're doing, and they encouraged us to continue, that Greg is not going to be able to get to this for 1.5 to 2 years, but to be patient. And when we get to that time, we'll get a chance to sit down with Greg and try to merge the documents. And hopefully, Stand to Reason will then launch this throughout the world to churches everywhere. Because I see this as a perfect bridge between Stand to Reason, an apologetics organization, and the church. See, the church has this great need, and it's evidenced by every time I mention what we're doing, this thematic walk through the Bible, people say, wow, when are you going to have the materials available? And I see, wow, this is really going to take off once we get this thing started. And I've pictured in my mind, it can go on 3 levels. I mean, there's other levels that we could probably come up with, but one is it can continue as a class, as we're teaching it now. It can be curriculum for small groups. Or third level is for the church, that the church would use this as the foundational teaching by which they connect all their sermons and other teachings back to God's unfolding plan. The need is great. Churches want people to understand the big picture of the Bible. That way they can read it, they can understand it, and they can grow in their biblical knowledge. And so I see this as something in the future that will have a tremendous impact throughout the world. The Biblical Worldview Academy is our group that is developing it, and I will keep you informed as we go along. And my next little blurb will be on how I went from atheism to Christianity. Again, this is Steve Bruecker from Southern California, beautiful sunny Southern California. I hope you've enjoyed this video.